The front line is not really a line at all, but a very complex and elaborate system of fieldworks, extending back several thousand yards, and bristling with fire trenches, support, and communication trenches, redoubts, strong points, machine gun emplacements, and an elaborate system of dugouts, cabins, posts, and observation.
Dear Mother, just a line to say that I'm well and am back at the front again. They have sent me back to the second battery, which is the one I was in before going to the trench mortars. It is very hard to take having to start work again after such a long spell at the base. Things are in an awful state here owing to the wet weather and heavy traffic, and it is almost impossible to walk anywhere without being bogged. We have only had one fall of snow here up to date, and I wouldn't mind if it was the last, as it is very hard on the poor horse. I had a letter from young Fred, it being the first news I've heard from him. We are back in the old dugout life again. It is wonderful where a man makes himself at home on active service. If we get back home, I think we were building houses in the ground. I have no mail from home for ages. I suppose harvesting is in full swing by this time. Sorry I can't go lend a hand. Well, Mum, there is little I can write about, so I'll have to close. With love and kind regards to all. From your loving son, Jim.
I never imagined that the bombardments could be as bad as they are. All we could do was to stand and tremble. We could hardly sit down or lie down, as we were without dugouts and the trenches were very narrow. The shells approaching or passing over sound for the world like railway trains coming nearer and nearer, till they reach you or pass you with a horrid shriek. My poor nerves were sorely tried, and terror sapped my blood time and time again. But I was always in charge of men, and that seemed to help keep my head. Not once did I break, thank God, and many braver and better men I saw collapse into gibbering lunacy.
During the night after we'd relieved the Tommies prior to our attack on the ridge, we were surprised to hear agonised cries of "Stretcher bearer, help, for God's sake come here," etc., coming from all sides of us. When the daylight came, some of us, myself included, crawled out to some adjacent shell holes from where the cries were coming, and were astonished to find about half a dozen Tommies badly wounded, some insane, others almost dead with starvation and exposure, lying, stuck in the mud and too weak to move. We were dumbfounded, but the awful truth remained. These chaps, wounded in defence of their country, had been callously left to die the most awful of deaths in the half-frozen mud, while tens of thousands of able-bodied men were camped within 5 miles of them, behind the lines. I've seen some pretty rotten sights during the 2.5 years of active service, but I must say this fairly sickened me.
My father. It would astound you to see a battalion quitting the line. No, there is nothing of the glory, nothing of the glamour. Generals lie who say they are cheery. They swear and curse and ache and shiver. Not heroes, but most miserable creatures. Their clothes are heavy with icy water and they are caked in mud. Wretched, sleepless, unshaven, unwashed and very lousy, they amble and shuffle along. All joints are rheumatic and lungs asthmatic. Their feet are frostbitten and swollen and their packs very heavy. I tell you, it is most demoralising, a spell on the Somme firing line.